Welcome to Music City Fitness with your hosts Josh Gamble and Kat Beach. Talking real deal health and wellness and, well, all around body talk. Their friends and colleagues from across the globe are here to share their views with you too. It's just another day in the journey, so grab a drink and a bite to eat and hang with them for a while as they open up new ideas for you.
Live.
Hey everybody, welcome to Music City Fitness. We're back today for, this is exciting for me. This is something I've been looking forward to for a while. And I'm Kat Beach, and this is Josh Gamble, my infamous co-host. I bet he didn't unmute. This is great. This is a great moment. I bet you I caught you in a moment, Josh, where you didn't unmute your mic.
I was so excited about the show. This is right up my alley. So
You said, let me just keep it muted and the girls are going to talk the whole time.
I'm just going to sit back and watch these beautiful women just tell me about their lives. This couldn't be any better. I get a front row seat for this, so I'm excited.
This is going to be fantastic. I am, just in case your first time with us, we talk about everything here. We talk about fitness. We talk about, oh heavens, the last two were about transgender, which was really amazing. Then we talk about building up the body, not breaking it down, chiropractic. And today is about dating over 40. And it's a really 40 years of age. And it's interesting because we've got two extraordinary ladybugs. And I'm really glad they're going to be here to talk about something that's really personal to me because I am over the age of 40 and I'm dating. And I have found it to be really challenging. So Kristi Data, I did it, is here with us from New York. And we have Pam Watkins, and she's here. She is in my neck of the woods in Nashville. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
I tell you what, let's start with Kristi. Tell us a little bit about your world. And your
well, first, I just wanted to say thank you so much, both to Kat and Josh, for reaching out. This is my jam. I love sharing my story. And it was kind of interesting because I've never really talked about my dating life over 40. So this is going to be a lot of fun. And also just sending lots of love and prayers to your community in Nashville, and hope everybody is recovering very quickly. My heart goes out to everybody there. So hello, everyone. My name is Kristi Data. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I have been single now for, oh my gosh, 8+ years.
Okay.
That's a lot, right?
No, because me too. It's okay.
I've dated off and on. I've been divorced 11 years, so I was previously married. I travel full time as a national account manager for a medical device company. I also coach nutrition and wellness. I am an all-around fitness junkie, and I also am the founder of the Girl Gang Evolution, which is my women's empowerment event company. So it is my 1-year anniversary coming up for that at the end of March, and I will also be launching an online coaching program very soon too. So yeah, that's a lot, right? Dating in there.
Yeah.
We can dive into that, but it fits in sometimes.
No wonder you have just a little bit of time to date.
Really, it's usually just like a thumbs up emoji when it comes to like, yeah, we want to go out.
Hey, let's grab some coffee. Sure. We can FaceTime. I'll be in New Hampshire. You can be wherever, and we can.
Right. I'm not even in New York right now.
I think we just created a brand new thing, FaceTime dating.
Like it.
Here we go. You need to patent that, and I'm the agent, and I get royalties.
There you go, because you're like, we're in it to win it, people. We got this.
Yeah.
Pam, tell us a little bit about you too, honey. I'm sorry, we're jumping right in.
Oh, that's absolutely fine. Hi, everyone. My name is Pam Watkins. As Kat had mentioned, I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a Southern girl, originally from Alabama, but I've been here since I attended college at Tennessee State University, which was like many moons ago. And I work for a pharmaceutical company. Absolutely love my job, work in the retina field. And in my spare time, I'm working out with Josh, or just working out in general, trying to defy age. I also like karaoke, spending time with my family. And when it comes to dating, it's been like 4 years since I've dated. I just, after a while, I got so many thumbs down or had those opinions of so many people. It was just a point of let's focus on my career, which was a really smart move. And until I meet somebody who's worth the time, the older you get, you realize time is really all you have that you can't get back. So single and enjoying it now. But of course, like most people, I would love to be in a relationship as long as it's the right one.
Yeah. Pam, did you ever try online dating?
Once I got catfished. No, it's not like it was a guy and I thought it was a girl, or girl and I thought it was a guy, but this person did not look like the picture.
Tell them the story, because you told me, but tell them the story.
You got to tell the honest story.
It's good.
It's kind of like if you were expecting, I don't even want to say Denzel, let's say maybe Chadwick Boseman, the guy from Black Panther, but you get Flavor Flav. But they swear they're the same person. Yeah. We didn't try that again. I'm just saying.
Everything.
Are you sure this is you? Like, I'm dialing the number where he can't see, trying to see if he answers. Like, is this the same guy? Yeah, I don't know who that was in the picture. It may have been Chadwick Boseman, but trust me, it was not him.
Not in real life.
That is classic. No. Josh knows the last time I tried. I won't name the name of the thing because I'm sure it's probably illegal. Well, if we were on Fox, I could.
There's plenty of options, but
there are plenty of options. The option that happened to me was, and I was so mad because if you ask me to go, we're going to change the date time, and you ask it to be 8:00 at night, I'm also a coach and a life coach, and I want to at least get I want to get my beauty sleep. No, I want to get my rest. I don't want to key down it, but I thought, okay. And Josh knows this. He's like, Kat, you can do this. Yeah. I was engaged 5 years ago, 4 years ago. So I haven't really dated since that broke up. But I said, okay, I got this. Josh is like, you got this. The guy stood me up. I showed up at the door and he didn't even, I was, honestly, it was the first time I have ever been stood up. And it was the first time I really had that guttural moment. So when Josh said, let's do a dating over 40, this hit me because tremendously painful to show up, to gussy up, to get the guts up again to date. So if for those who have been married, those who've been engaged, those who've gone through that moment, and those who are listening who've gone through that moment, it takes a whole lot to jump back in after you've really been gutted. And to jump back in, and for all the guys who think it's okay to just not show up, to just show up for whatever, don't ever make a date and not show. It was horrifying.
Not speaking on behalf of every guy, but there's always a couple bad apples to make the rest of us unicorns look really bad. So
he said it was a unicorn.
I think he said unicorn. Did I mishear something?
It might have slipped out. I don't know. Sometimes I don't think before I speak, but sometimes it works out great. But
and sometimes you should mute. No, I'm just kidding. I'm messing with you.
It's like trying to introduce myself. It's great. It's my first rodeo.
Kristi, have you ever done the online dating, honey?
I have. I tried when I left Tampa, Florida. I moved away after I got divorced and moved to Austin, Texas in 2012. And back then there wasn't the swipe right or the, what is it? Like all of these things, right? There was, Match.com and eHarmony and there was this one, Plenty of Fish. And I was scared after the first 3 that I went on. Like I just was scared for the human race. One guy, let's see. So one instance, the guy needed to date and stay on the home team. Like as drinks started happening, we started having conversations like I would have with one of the girls. And I'm like, it's okay. Like sit next to that guy, not me.
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not your one.
I'm not your person.
I'm not your person.
Another guy, I had a hospital meeting. We met for breakfast. And afterwards, I said, thank you so much, but I have to catch a flight. This is my life. I travel full time for work. And as I'm getting to the airport and he's like, so how do you think it went? Like, you're really hard to read. Do you think we have is there a future in this? And I'm like, man, it was just eggs. We just had eggs. That's it. Like, oh God. I just couldn't deal with this. And then I had another guy that showed up 45 minutes late because he forgot to put gas in his car. Yellow flag number one.
Yep.
And then, you know, at the time, do you remember the book by Patty Stanger and her partner called The Rules? This is like back in the
I
day.
do. Yeah.
So I read that book and I'm like, I'll find me a boyfriend and I'm going to follow the rules. And I did everything I was supposed to in that book. And this person showed up. I had my half a drink and I was just, you know, keeping it surface and just like trying to follow the rules. And he starts hammering drinks. I'm like, and then of course, like Josh mentioned, how we, on a previous conversation, how we get in our heads, right? How we start to play stories of, is it me? Am I not fun? He has to get drinks in him to talk to me, like all the things. And eventually he kind of got a little tipsy and he's like, so what does your family do? And said something to the effect, like, my sister is now married to her boyfriend. She's a teacher and he was a cop at the time. And he's like, is that a thing? Do they do that? Like cops and teachers, do they all get married? Like very kind of like in my face about things. And then we were talking about fitness. And at the time I was training for the Austin half marathon. I was doing distance races, not what I do now. But then he's like, well, if you knew anything about fitness, you'd know running isn't efficient. And I'm like, I gotta go. Like, you're not my dude. And then he's messaging me, I'm at a bar, at a show. And I'm like, I'm going to bed. I got to get up. He's like, oh yeah, right. Cause you got to get up to do running. And okay. Then I get a text the next morning after one of my training runs. I kid you not. He's like, hey, so I think it went really well. Do you want to see each other again? Like,
wow.
I was like, were we in the same date?
Yeah. Are you doing okay? Maybe you should.
So the New Yorker attitude in me came out and I said, you know what? I just don't think we connected really well. I'm really sorry. Like, best of luck to you. Thank you for your time. Like, very diplomatic PC, right?
Yeah.
And he texted me back. He's like, wow, we didn't spend that much time together. And you could, you know, you really figured that out in that short amount of time. I texted him back, I'm trying to be more efficient. And for me, online dating, it's so inorganic because so much of our day to day, I mean, we walk around like this all day.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
All day. And honestly, I think before the animals are extinct, the human connection piece is going to be missing.
Yeah.
Because even now, if you look at our younger generation, they lack this, and why anxiety is on another level, they lack this. Just rapport and relationship building and connection and looking somebody in the eye. It's so sad, so sad. So when I'm wanting to go on a date, which no one's asked me on a date in a really long time, just putting it out there.
For all you guys out there.
In the New York area. No, I'm just kidding. I want to meet you and talk to you and it be organic, and I want eye contact, and just, I don't want it to be through a piece of
right.
I just don't want that way.
What do you think is getting in the way of that? Because quite honestly, that's just across the board. It's people are not, I just want to say, maybe Josh, you can weigh in on this, asking women out on, I can't even think of the last time, aside from some of my best guy friends who I love to death and go out.
So we talked about that in our sessions. We'll come back to that in a second. Pam, do you have any like dating? Like, where do you go to? Do you do dating apps, or what's your?
No, I don't. Clearly, I'm not dating. I mean, it really feels like, and this is something that happens when you get older too, my time is so crunched. Like, it is crunched from you get up, you work out, I work easily 6, sometimes 7 days a week. If you try to see family and maybe shop and a little Netflix and whatever other things you have, like, I realized I would have to open up and be more open to, I guess, sharing my time. Because once you're over 40, you're very set. I mean, I say you, but I'm very set in my ways and I like my life. So I know I would have to be open to dating. And truthfully, I'm not really pushing it. Like, I'm not trying to go out and do extra things or be seen to try to find someone to date. I'm really enjoying the space I'm in right now. Kat had talked about, or just mentioned the fact that how we connect now. I think people are so into, actually, I have two phones here, the phones, because that's what, I don't know the percentage, but I'd say 7 out of 10 women are okay with that. So if there are no expectations and no one that's holding men accountable or even women accountable for saying, pick up the phone and call me instead of texting, or let's actually meet instead of FaceTiming, I think it's just easy to ignore the woman, which if you're over 40, you're from the generation where you didn't, I mean, I can remember pagers, so you were still actually picking up the phone and talking to someone. So I think it is a lot of work for some men if they would rather lazy date, even if they're older, to devote that type of time to a woman who's over 40, because it's just different. It's just different from what they have to do. And I think a man would have to be really devoted or ready for a serious relationship to actually do those things, because it's so easy. You can also hide behind the phones too. Like I told you about my experience with, Flavor Flav. I could have been thinking for years at this point that I was with Chadwick with the Black Panther, because the phones, like it's so easy to hide behind those things. So I think that's part of why people do it. And I think a lot of it is just sometimes women, we're going to have to stand up and just say up front in a polite way what we want. I don't text all the time. Can you give me a call, or can we actually meet? But I think we do it so much because we're allowed to.
I think a lot of it just comes down to, like you said, with that communication, like just at a certain point in your life, whether it's your career and you're in a situation like Pam, you love your career, you love where you're at, you may be there for a while because that's what you're good at and you do very well with what you're doing. You're good at your job. Kristi, you got multiple things you're working on. Kat's the same way, but it's not the job so much as the work ethic. So it's like, you got to have someone by 40, you better, if you're a guy and you're 40, usually guys mature slower than women, but by 40, you should have your crap together. Make sure that I have to censor my mouth on some of this stuff because I know we go trying to keep it family friendly, but like by 40, have your stuff together. Like you can't expect a woman around your age, give or take 4 or 5 years, to, not be focused on life and career. Because if you've been now given, there are some instances where people are just looking for that guy to take care of them. But if you've got a strong, independent woman, you got to understand, like, there's a schedule. So you have your schedule. You might have to bend a little bit on some of your time. That's just any relationship in general, not necessarily like the age. Like, if you've got a long day and you work, I mean, no matter, especially if you're, it is in your 20s and early 30s, you're trying to hit that grind to whatever job so you can kind of climb that ladder or do your business or whatever. If you want the relationship, you've got to be able to give a little bit. But I feel like who you're trying to date also has to understand that they need to give, but then respect the fact that you need your personal time to work. And especially because y'all travel with your work a lot. So that's another thing. You can't be there necessarily every single day. And maybe whenever they get home or you get home, not trying to be smothered right away. Maybe you are, but maybe you need to unwind a second too. So I think communicating is a big part of that in the beginning. Is like, here's where we're at. I can give you this free time, but I need, like, I got my routine. I need to have one of my clients, her and her husband met. She's in her early 40s. He kind of, their first couple dates, sort of fudged about his age a little bit because he thought he might be too old for her. But he was a professional with his career, and she was in sales and traveled over 200 days a year. And she was like, they started dating, and she's like, I got my house, you got yours. I get up early and I have a routine. Don't come over because I don't want you. I want to get my workout done at 5. I get up at 4. And he had more of a 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock start time. So like, he didn't have to be up as early. And they got married still with the understanding that we have our separate quarters. We meet on certain days when I'm in town. Like, let's say she's a Monday through Thursday traveler. His office or his job was here in town. So she's like, when I'm in town, I need a day to relax. And then the weekend, and those days are ours. But she was like, I've been doing this routine for so long. She's like, I'm not doing anything but working when I'm gone. When I'm here, I'm yours, you're mine. But there's this understanding. And I grew up very old school where it's like, you get married, you live together, everything's together, that kind of thing. Where she was like, no, three days easily a week. Don't come near me because I've got a routine and you're not messing it up. But
Wow.
that's also why she was so successful in what she did. And he
Yeah.
understood that and he respected that because he was very well with what he was doing with his company. So it's an understanding, and and I would love to be able to get her on if I would talk to her, because she was at the point when we first started training, she was like, in my late 30s, I'm just going to love my career. I'm going to get some toys. I'm going to travel. I'm going to do this. And then out of nowhere came someone and she said, yes, if he would have maybe told me his age to begin with, I probably would have said, yeah, no thanks. But he was adventurous and he didn't have any, I guess you'd say extra baggage
Yeah.
with it. He had,
I think that word.
yeah. So, it's like, but he had a pretty clean background, like he didn't have anything he was bringing to the relationship that hadn't already, that wasn't going to affect it at all. Like kids were out of the house, all that kind of thing. But I knew she was kind of the same way where she's like, I want to date, but I don't know how. She was like, I was at a meeting or conference and someone, hey, I have a friend, introduced him. And then next thing you know, she's like, well, why not? And they started dating.
Well,
and
that's actually a good question. Pardon me for interrupting, but Josh, that's a good question. How? Okay, so before, and this is really for Kristi and Pam, as I knock my microphone, how do we date when you're in a business and you're a go lifestyle, and you have a certain amount of energy output that you're willing to give? The reason it's almost sad that we've almost isolated ourselves so much, and we do our work. And this is not just the three of us having this conversation. I have countless friends who are in their 40s and they are 40s and 50s, and they are single and trying to figure out how to date outside of online dating because they don't want to online date. It's as you said, Kristi, it's so impersonal. It's you and as you said, Pam, somebody who you hope might, and
Flavor Flav.
Right. It's like a visual, but at the same token, that really matters. There's a chemistry that is so important. And I wish there was something, and Kristi, you weren't here for this one, but this last week we had a meet and greet. And so Pam and I were talking to a gentleman about energy and youthful energy, and why men felt a need to be around women who were, or date women who were younger. And it was, he had a real honest conversation. You remember this one, Pam?
I do, yes.
He was I appreciated his honesty. I didn't love it, but I appreciated the honesty.
Yeah, I mean, he was saying that
for you guys,
that younger women have, I don't know if it was a better energy, Kat, or just that there was a youthful spirit about them and more of a carefree approach that he really enjoyed. Now, he made it clear that's probably not the type of energy that he wanted long-term or that he was going to settle down with, but that was part of why he dated or enjoyed being with younger women, is that it almost was as though, and tell me, Kat, if you picked up something different, but as though he liked the way it made him feel. Like he liked the way he felt being with a younger woman. It was like an ego boost.
100%. That's exactly. And he is not the only one I've heard that from.
Yeah.
And as women, and I'm not gonna say older, or as women, just in general, you guys have magnificent energy. You have focused energy. You're both beautiful women, and you have an energy that would be lucky to date. So much about you, lucky to date. But I feel almost as if, I'm not sure how to express it, but even though we all have I call it my tribe, my group of people that I hang around, but I've also made it very, very slim, specific amount of people in my tribe that I'll hang around and give my energy to. It's just interesting how it's changed over the years. And I'm trying to reach back, and maybe you guys can help me a little bit. Back in the day, what was different aside from online? What was different about the day? Maybe it was just the up close and personal. Kristi, is there something that, God, and it's scary for me because
things going on in my head right now.
I don't know, and it's weird. I'm putting you guys on the spot, but
no, not at all.
It's scary for me because what we're doing is we're teaching the next generation.
Yeah.
So I'm reading some of the comments that are coming in from the video show live, and how older women are more pissed off or jaded. And okay, so that could be for anybody, to be honest, because if you have a man, and I'm just going to kind of go towards this person typing that, if there's a man that's been burned several times, he's going to be a little bit jaded, guarded, right? It's not just this generalization. It goes both ways. Remember, like I said before we went on air, it doesn't matter if your set's above the belt or below. If a person's hurt, they're going to carry something with them. And if they choose to focus their energy on the experience that happened here, they're going to be focused. It's just like, okay, I learned this at a Tony Robbins event. I want you guys, I'm going to tell you not to think of something. So don't think of a pink car.
There it goes.
Now,
I'm thinking about it.
For the rest of the day, you're going to be like, holy crap, there's another one. There's another one.
Yeah.
So it's what you choose to focus on or bring into a situation is exactly what you are going to find in that person. I mean, if I thought Josh was like the best thing since sliced bread, and which he kind of is, but all of the things that, you know, or I thought he was the biggest SOB on the planet in my, because I've had SOB, because I've had that in the past, and that's what I'm bringing to my experience, and that's what you're going to find. So it's not necessarily that we're all jaded and angry. It's just what we choose to bring into the present situation. As far as the men dating younger women, that was my my ex-husband. I was married with him collectively 8 years, and the last year of our marriage, he was dating a 22-year-old, and I had no idea because I consistently traveled. And shame on me, because my ego, and we are friends now, like I have no ill will. My ego was in place of like, I'm not going to fail. I can make this work. I can make all of these things happen, right? Meanwhile, his mindset and where he was, and the way and the things that I should have paid attention to with the past women that I knew he dated. I mean, his last girlfriend before me was 20.
Okay.
So I take radical responsibility for the things that I allow in my life at this point. Back then, I was kind of an angry, you know, biatch. But at the same time, I understand his perspective, because now even his oldest daughter, who I'm close to, I have 2 stepdaughters that from him that aren't mine. I don't have my own children that I love dearly. So I've had my mom experience, and I'm so grateful to both of them. But his current girlfriend is the same age as his oldest daughter. She's 23. He just turned 50. But that's okay, because that's his thing, right?
Yeah.
And I've learned to just accept that. Am I angry that it's the way it broke down between us? Not anymore, because that's what he felt filled him up, is that particular, the energy, the younger girl, and that's great. But I just think if we let go of some of the judgments and the shoulds and things around what dating is, and actually truly connect to somebody, I don't really care how old you are, to be honest.
True.
I mean, I'm 47. You could be 67 or, well, 27. You haven't quite got your stuff together. Maybe 37. You're still figuring it out.
Some
right?
of us did. Some of them are
Good
still
call,
figuring it
Kristi.
out.
Hey, you're not 27, Josh.
No, 28. You're right. Good call.
Just by 1 year, just
Yeah,
slightly
well,
off.
it's close. It's the hair. I get it all the time. It's really not a big deal. So we did have a question. Sorry to interrupt. So I want to ask y'all's opinion on this. So one of my regulars at Barry's had mentioned, she said, the question is, if it's not online dating and you're over 40, your go out girlfriend pool is limited because they're so often spending time and focus on their family. So the question is, it becomes how? So obviously it's a little different for me. And I was telling Kristi before, it's like, I'm around a lot of women a lot because the job, our majority of our clientele are women that are 80% of our clientele are women. And you in Nashville being so small, everyone knows everyone. Everyone is 1 degree separation from everyone in Nashville. And so what I've found out, or what I've listened to, is there, which again is what led to this. There's a lot of people dealing with the same questions. So what if, and I mean, Kristi, you too, because you frequent Nashville on occasions, but like, getting together a group, because like Sunday we did our meet and greet and it was a great group of people. It was a co-ed group. It was fun. We had, a good group of people, and everyone kind of found their little niche, and everyone found their person or their group they hung out with. So I mean, this could be a good way for us, and I'll say you two because you are the women that could lead this, is like having a meet and greet with people on a regular basis that are dealing with the same situation. And now this is not only women. We've got some of our clients. One of the guys is like, as a gay man in town, I'm dealing with the same things. I'm a professional, and Nashville has a small community. And we talked about this last couple of weeks with Addison.
Oh yeah.
It's harder to find someone in your community, especially in that gay community. I mean, Barry's is a huge location because we're such a great like home base. I mean, I guess you could say nationwide or worldwide. Barry's is one of the largest gay gyms in the country, and it's great because not only that, they just welcome anyone and everyone, race, ethnicity, whatever. You're just a person. You're just a human. You just come and enjoy, and everyone gets along. Doing something like that with a group and bringing everyone in together, because even if you are, like we talked about, Pam had her fitness competition, Kat, you used to compete, Kristi, you compete, you found another hobby to do. What I've kind of have gathered is we have a lot of people, their hobby might be going home, watching The Bachelor, watching The Bachelorette, open up a bottle of wine, relax, and then be like, man, why can't I find somebody? And I'm completely over stereotyping that, but getting those people and be like, all right, we've got these 3 strong women right here who are dealing with the same thing you are, but they've also taken an initiative to find something else to fill that void.
Yeah.
Yes, everyone wants to, find a partner, but doing some sort of, I don't say community effort, but maybe finding a way to get everyone together. Like, hey, like at the gym at Barry's, like, it doesn't matter who you are, come in, work out, everyone's welcome. Same thing here.
Or maybe it's a brunch.
Yeah, a brunch.
Barry's and maybe it is a fitness facility. Like Barry's actually talking about that community and creating that community. I will be really frank, and I don't usually do this, especially being a performer. So Kristi and Pam, you may not know this, I'm also a country blues performer and have been for years. And I have a huge group of people who think that I'm out all the time and partying all the time and around all the honesty behind it is I do isolate myself. And I was watching I think it was a Today Show segment on the Blue Zone. Have you guys heard of that? The book, cookbook, right? It's a cookbook on a gentleman went across the world and spent time in different places where people lived the longest. And but he mentioned, aside from the fact that there were different foods, and let's just forget that for a moment, he mentioned the fact that people had community and they ate together. And that was the part that made me go, oh gosh. Because Josh, you said something that triggered me. A lot of my friends do have children and families, and they're thinking, well, we don't want to invite. Not that they don't want to invite me, but Kat won't have fun because she doesn't have a husband and children. She doesn't want to be at these events, which I would love to. So I have found that I've isolated, and that's completely counter. I don't know, Pam, if you do it, or Kristi, if you do it, but it's counter to my personality to isolate. And I have done that much to everybody's surprise. So if any of my fan base is watching, surprise, perform and then go home and isolate. And so
I was going to say that, Kat, I realized one thing, really 2 things. One, I think it's harder to find over 40 if you're trying to stay within your age group, a man that is single, like typically they're married at this age, or more of them are still married or married. But I definitely know that the difference between me and my 20s and 30s was that I would go out every week. Like, no matter what, even if it was just with the girlfriends to grab some drinks or somewhere because I thought I had a cute outfit. It was a point of, let me get out, let me have fun, let me be seen, let me try to see if there's somebody cute. Whereas now I would rather watch Dateline on Fridays. Like that's That's, something about that sleep when you get older, at least in your mind, that's like super important. So yeah, I definitely think it would be something that, if I really thought about it, it is important to still be out there. Not that you're not concerned about friends or family or having the career, but that's a huge difference, I think, sometimes when you get older, is that you just slow down from being active and out there and seeking things to have fun and different things to do that was natural to us when we were younger.
Plus, you look at it, and Chrissy, tell me. I mean, I'm not in New York as much as I used to be, but you don't have many options of places to go to out here. Like one of my favorite movies. I love the movie Hitch, and so I like when Will Smith first meets Mendez, and they're in that bar, that lounge, and it's a casual. It's a bunch of like work professionals. Everyone's in there. They're having a drink. They're shooting pool. It's non-smoky. There's no honky tonk. There's none of that going on. It's just a place you can go and hang out and meet a girlfriend, meet a friend, and have fun. We don't have a lot of options of that here. Now, Nashville's a big tourist spot. Obviously, a lot of people go to New York also, but there's so many more options in New York. But are there options of that or ideas for that? Because I can't think of anything like that here where it's like, okay, I don't want to stay at home and watch Dateline on a Friday, or I don't want to perform and go home. I'm okay with going out, but I also don't want to go to the honky tonk bar. I don't want to go to necessarily a bar where you sit at a bar and have to talk over music because you can't have a conversation that way. I also don't want to go to the bar at the W or at the JW Marriott or wherever, because it's tourists and it's, people in town for business. There's not a venue where you can go to where it's just like, hey, this is a local sort of spot that we can all go and communicate and
like Cheers
and hang out. It's like Cheers, but it's like, without the bar scene. Like, you want a local Cheers bar without the bar. Like, you want the lounge where you can go and hang out and mingle, sit with your friends, sit at a couch, hang out.
For grown folks.
Yeah.
We have just created a brand new restaurant, and we're just going to call it For Grown Folks. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No.
Grown folks.
Like it.
Kristi, how about in New York? Now, I know there's just a different, and Josh was jumping on this one a second ago. I mean, is there just a different vibe of, I went to school in Boston, so I know that there was a different energy than Nashville. He's right about Nashville. It's a little different.
I would say New York it's a different element, and there's why I love it, because you can meet the most incredible human beings. For me, I don't drink anymore. It's just, if I have half a glass of wine, it's good night, Kristi. I just don't drink. So it's like happy hour is not a thing for me. Granted, if it's somebody's birthday and we go out, I'll have like a little bit of something, but I actually am very intentional when I'm out, when I go to a new fitness class, when I go to maybe somebody's fitness event, or I go to a networking event. I'm very intentional to meet at least 5 new people whenever I go somewhere. Because I'm human curious. Like I'm so obsessed with people's stories and how they got to where they're at. And it's led to a few things where, I've been asked, are you single? And then they're like, well, what about this date and this date? And then I'm like, I can't, I'm traveling. I can't, I'm so sorry. It's not going to happen. Can't. So I'm slowly working on changing that and transitioning out of corporate America. That is my ultimate goal, to do the things that really make my heart happy. And then there are times where I'm on the subway and I'm like, oh, hey boy, hey. And then it's like, oh, well, he's on the subway and I can't really talk to him. And that's a story, right? Yeah. So that's a story that I've made up in my head, that why can't I go talk to that person, right? And, kind of to rewind a little bit, and we were talking about finding like the one person. So there's a concept called one to the many. And nothing's ever missing in your life. It's true. Nothing is ever missing. If you really look at the 7 areas of life, which is relationship and financial and spiritual and all the things, nothing's ever missing. So I have a man in my life, not in a romantic sense, that fulfills me business-wise, that fulfills me friendship-wise, that is my guru for spirituality, that is my financial advisor. So I have many amazing men in my life and I'm fulfilled. And so I think about that. I'm like, God, why am I beating myself up because I don't have the one? Because I'm choosing the many. So the minute that I want to choose the one, that's when I have to become more intentional about, where do I want to meet this person? And I don't want to meet somebody in a bar. I just don't. It's not who I am anymore. I used to be in the bar business, did lots of dumb things in the bar business. That's how I got married, by being in the bar business. Great to go out and have some drinks, but to like go on a date at a bar is not my jam. I want to meet somebody that's active, that likes to, very entrepreneurial, that's very health oriented, that likes to work out and maybe stay home and like cook food together. Like, yes, we'll go out, maybe go to a show or something else, but I want to find that person in the environment that I feel like I'm thriving in. And I put myself in those places. And in New York City, most of the men like other men. So there's that challenge as well. But I've met some incredible human beings, incredible gentlemen. Just they're not my dude, and that's okay. And I'm very good, and I'm very okay with where I'm at. Yes, would I love to have a significant other to come home to? But I also know that the life that I lead right now isn't conducive to the cookie cutter, June and Ward Cleaver relationship. Now, if I could find a dude like me who travels, and then we can, like Josh's clients, like they meet up 3 days a week and they have their quality time and that kind of thing, I think that would work out great. But to take myself out of the things that I'm so excited about creating and putting myself in, I won't do it. I'm so protective of my energy and so protective of I used to be, so full disclosure, I was the girl that if you were party pants, I would turn into party pants. If you were listening to country music, I didn't know and have enough sense of self that I discounted and pushed what I really wanted just so I would have somebody. And that's who I was attracting into my life. And as I woke up and become more aware of my patterns, and the universe will hand you the same lesson in a different package every time until you learn. So now I have learned, and I know, like, okay, I've had a gentleman that wanted to take me out on a date, and just, talking to him and just paying attention to his social media can give you some clues, to be honest. I know it's the highlight reel for everybody, but how some people behave on social media is a kind of an indicator of what they're like.
Someone's life over social media, you don't want to date them.
Yeah.
I want to know this was for anybody, like, you want to know their personal life by talking about their personal life. Like you're right. It's a highlight reel for a lot of people, but I mean, if I can go through the certain quotes you're putting up now, I say this because I will put up a lot of quotes on mine, but I like to keep mine as more of a business sort of page more than anything. But if I can see one day you're putting up these quotes, and then one day you're bashing this certain type of person, and next day, like, you're out with all your friends, and the next, I can read your emotions through your social media. Sometimes it's an outlet for people, which is good, because it's better than keeping things bottled in. But like, if this is a consistent thing over a extended period of time, it's probably not someone you're going to be like, you know what, we should go for coffee. And that's when you're like, you know what, let's FaceTime and we can do it.
Yeah, right. I want to hit something that seems to have been a challenge for a lot of people, which are a lot of females and this is something you're going to have to weigh in on, Josh. A lot of women over 40 will comment on their physicality. I've been one of them, but I have a huge assortment of clients and friends who will comment on their physicality, being too old. We're not just going to end it with stretch marks, because that's just, everybody has stretch marks, but having gained a little weight.
Stretch marks. You need to get rid of them in the first place.
I know.
I mean, like, it's,
but it's there, Josh. So women have.
Sorry, I have a question then.
Cellulite, extra for people who are going through perimenopause. So you're going through a change, and yes, it does happen. I was the one who's like, no, it doesn't, because I was in bodybuilding. Surprise! It actually, the hormones do change. Things do. You do have to work differently when they do happen, and so and your emotional energy for sexual output changes. Now, in some cases it increases, in some cases it flatlines, but it's interesting to hear a lot of my friends talk about the flatline. And the feeling of, oh no, I'm never going to date again. I'm never going to feel this again. I'm never going to feel magic again. And so I want us to talk a little bit about that, because that is something that when I said I was going to go on and we were going to talk about this, they said that was the conversation. So Josh, question.
Answer.
When men are, and forget the energy of the younger woman, all that baloney who for a moment. When men are, is it just simple? I'm stepping around this and I'm trying really hard not to just say it. I'm just bold. Let's be bold. Are men as simple as you have said? I'm not saying it. You said it.
We are. We're very simple. I think we're incredibly simple. I think that sometimes women will overthink a lot of things and get in their head, maybe over one person telling them something before, whether it was an ex from a relationship, whether it was a parent, whether it was a mom or a dad trying to say you need to be this type of person, and then that's what you have ingrained in your mind. And that's one thing I've always been a big fan of. It's like, as you get older, you have to learn to forget the things you were taught by people who didn't know any better. Because when you're growing up, I mean, you have let's say a small town mentality that's teaching you certain things. What are you supposed to do at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old? You don't know any better. But then as you get older and you start to kind of think on your own, not everything you were taught is really correct. So if you were told you need to look this way, your hair needs to be this way, you need to be this proper, you need to be someone that you're not because this will attract a certain person, it's not necessarily true. You never get to be yourself. And then as you get older, you get kind of confused. You're like, okay, I have this random scar at the back of my neck that no one sees, but what if I turn this way and they see it? Or like when we mentioned stretch marks, like at some point in your life, stretch marks happen, whether it's through a pregnancy, whether it's through, let's say it's just weight gain. Let's say it's you're sick, there's steroids you take, you're on pregnancy, something happens. If you're concerned about those things and that's the guy you're worried about not attracting, that's an issue. If a guy has an issue with that, that guy needs to be just cut off and let go in the first place.
But it's not even just the guys. Every single magazine out there. I just want to press the issue a little bit, because I have so many friends and colleagues who.
So the magazines are no different than like the news. If you look at them, if you're worried about what a magazine says, that's not what you're thinking. You're letting someone else give you your thought process. Like when we talked about earlier with, just certain news stations will give you certain information. You still have everything at your fingertips to research their opinion and then make your own. If you're looking at what a magazine says, all magazines try to do is like stir a pot a little bit. What is something we can hit on? Like magazines are always going to have the perfect person in their magazine. They're going to talk about the perfect look. That doesn't exist with the majority of people. There's real life people.
This with them. I mean, when you think of it, and sorry to cut you off, but how, they're going to touch up photos. And I mean, even the apps and things, like, to me, a lot of those people, if we were to see them in person, they wouldn't look the way they look in those magazines. Yeah. But I don't know, ladies, but I feel like the older I've gotten, the less I care about the fact that I don't look like what people think is maybe American beauty, if that makes sense. Like, I've just become so much more comfortable because this is the skin I have, this is the nose I have my dad's feet, like all of those things that maybe would have bothered me when I was 25. It's like, life is short, and you get up every day and you're healthy, your family is there, like, just roll with it. If you're not going to pay to get it fixed, so to speak, just let it go. So I find that I'm much more comfortable at 45 than I was even at 35, just with, this is me, and as long as I like me, somebody else will. I mean, truthfully, and this may not be the right thing to say, but we've seen some women with some amazing looking guy, or even, a guy that we may think looks better than them. And we're like, how did she get him? She's probably super comfortable with her. And as Josh meant, like he was saying, men aren't so hung up on the things that we think about where we have to be so perfect. I think confidence and that self-love and being assured within yourself goes much further than I look like the girls in the magazine, because most of us don't, and they don't.
A real man that you want to be with isn't going to care if you look like someone in the magazine or not, because those people aren't real. Same thing you were saying with Instagram. And let's be honest, people filter everything on Instagram. I see most of the women that I see are workout clothes, Lululemon ponytails. I'll see them out in public and hair's down and there's makeup on, and that's a look. But then I'll see that same person on Instagram. I'm like, that's not you. Like, I just saw you in this hair down, makeup on thing, but I just saw you on Instagram, and that's a lie, because that's not what you look like. But they are doing that because they got to get the likes. They got to have that recognition. They've got to get that whatever. So like you were saying, if you see a woman, or guys do the same thing, like, what do people say when, like, oh, they see a woman with a guy who's not that attractive? Oh, he must have a big wallet. He must have money. That's why she's with him. When sometimes it's like, if you're just honest with yourself and real, the biggest headache you're going to run into with people who are constantly beating themselves down. Oh, I need to do this for you. Well, no, you're wanting to do it for yourself, thinking that it's going to help me, but really you've got to be comfortable with you so that you can understand that I'm comfortable with you. You know what I mean? Or for any person. And it's really just when going back to, I've got a very good friend of mine who's younger, who just came out, and it's the happiest they've been because they no longer have to hide themselves. And this is just not talking about beauty. This is about coming out to a family and a group that you're not accepted as a person. So they're like, I might look this way, but you know what? I'm happy to say this is who I am, and I'm here. And then you come back, and I'm saying this because, like, we all have insecurities. We all have something, and I think that's normal, and I think that's fine. You can't let that insecurity take over and be the obsession that bothers you every day. You can't wake up and be like, that hairline's going back a little further. You know what? It has. And doesn't mean I'm still not going to come in and joke and be a smart ass like when we train and try to have a good time. Like, it ain't going to ruin my hair. You know? I'm not going to attest to that.
That's just necessary.
But that's what I hear from so many people, and it's guys and it's girls. It's, you know, it's like when you see the guys who have to be like big and jacked and walk around, it's just like, man, when's the last time a woman said, how much do you bench press? Never. Not one time. They want to feel confident about something that they're insecure about in front of like a group of guys that they need acceptance from. But when really, if you find that one person that, like Kristi was saying, she's like, you won't sacrifice what you're doing work-wise because this is who you are and this is what I want. And I think that's great. I think that a lot of people need to hear that, men and women, because no matter what your sex is or where you're at, it's never too late to start something new that makes you happy. And there's so many opportunities now with just social media and the web. You can do something you want to do. There's so many ways of marketing yourself, but you get people who might come into your life, and they might be, and we've all been on guard because we've all been burned. Everyone's been hurt and cheated on and everything. But you get that one person that you kind of know at this stage, you're like, there's that little spark that says, you know what? Do I take this and roll the dice a little bit? You know, you got two dice, you roll one, you see where it lands. You see if, okay, let's hang out 3 times a week when I'm in town. But if that perfect person comes, are you willing to sacrifice your business to be happy? Are you willing to sacrifice money to be happy? Like,
maybe slightly compromise, but not sacrifice.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, that's an intense word.
you still have to like pay your bills and have your fun. But what is, you know, what is it like? Where's the line drawn? Like, do you have one? That's my question. Do you have a line, or are you? Because I want people to understand that. I think that it's great that we have the 3 of you on here. It's why I love that we were able to get all 3 of you on here, because you're so independent and you're so good and successful. And there are people who are just like I said, they're kind of like, well, I'm doing this, you know, this job because I got to pay bills. Not really happy, but I'm getting ahead in life, and I could have a cushy retirement. I mean, I'm not happy, but I'm not happy. Do you have like a line where you're like, you continue to go with that process and mindset? Do you encourage them to say, hey, let find something you want to do and make something more of it and make a career out of it? Or do they sit there and take a chance of staying in neutral in a sense, and they're in that limbo? Like, I like the fact that everyone is doing something they enjoy doing.
Yeah.
What do you say to people who are, I'm comfortable, but I'm not happy?
That's why. That's why they're unhappy, because they're comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's 1000% why.
That's so true.
I mean, if you think about, and for all the people watching live and listening, think about when you were a kid or you were in high school, whether it was sports related or whatever, you had this goal, right? You didn't give a crap about what anybody said, what anybody did, because you were focused and it was what you were wanted. Was it easy? No. Did you have to grow into that person to get to that goal? Yes. It's the same thing with this. So for me, I wouldn't say sacrifice would be something, but I want somebody that is just as excited about life, just as excited to grow personally. Because if your fun Friday for the last 5 years is hitting the bar, getting wasted with the same people, waking up hungover, you're not my dude. Because I don't want to, that's why I'm doing the things I'm doing. And I woke up, and it took me a minute, believe me, I was on that hamster wheel of life, but I absolutely refuse to be that, because I want to grow into that woman that's like, man, I started here, went through these steps, empowered women to kind of see the things that they can grow into themselves. And that's when that person comes into your life. When you're making fear-based decisions or decisions from a lack mindset, that's exactly what you're going to attract. It's people are our mirrors.
Yeah.
Like,
True.
I know a little bit about each one of your stories, ladies, and we share a lot of things. You are my mirror. So you're attracting what's going on in here. I mean, it's kind of like, I refer to Tony Robbins because I'm obsessed with him and I've been to some of his events, but it's like, it's positive thinking and affirmations. And you're, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. But inside you're like, liar, liar, liar. So it's that internal dialogue that you're consistently programming into your head. And to Josh's previous statement, from ages 7 to 9, your subconscious is being programmed. Those are the, like, quote unquote miracle years of how you structure your beliefs and what's right and wrong. And it comes from your environment. And that's another thing, ladies. Think about who you're surrounding yourself with. Is it the catty chicks that are like, ew, look at her bag. Oh my God, did she just get her boobs done? Like, are you with the gossip girls? Or are you hanging out with the drinkers and partiers that are just looking for the fun, like, let's hook up, swipe right kind of situation? Like, be very conscious of what you surround yourself with, both men and women in your life. Because ultimately, and this is another, personal development quote, you become the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with most. So if you want that fun, exciting, group of friends, go find them, put yourself and get uncomfortable in those situations. And you never know, you could meet somebody in those situations. But, Kat, like you said, like you're on stage, you're pouring your heart, you're doing your thing, you're in your jam. But I'm telling you, if you really think about it, there's something that you're afraid of and why you're not going after it.
100%.
There's always that little bit of like, that voice that's like, you sure you want to put your heart out there again? Are you sure you want to going to try?
It
It's
literally
right there.
fell apart after the engagement. I could tell you the time it broke. And even though, although interestingly enough, having this conversation today, this is important to me just as much as it's important to the women that are listening, because
So
I took a nosedive. So it's interesting. You're very right.
yeah. So if you're thinking, so how long ago did that end?
4 years ago.
Okay. So can you see that it was a gift?
Oh
that
yes.
it happened?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yes.
Totally. Just like I'm so thankful for my marriage failing. I'm so thankful for the relationships that I attracted into my life, because it was there to teach me something so I would get uncomfortable and grow into the person that I want to attract into my life.
Yes. Yes, 100%. I literally,
Yeah.
I commonly say I dodged a cannonball, which I did. And quite interesting to say to women out there who are listening, along with what you're saying, Kristi, is that I changed me to be with this person.
Yes.
I changed. He was not at all the person I would have expected. Just period would have expected. I can't believe that I did what I did, and I step back from it and go, oh, come on, Kat, because people see me as a powerful person. They see you as powerful women, and I saw me as a powerful woman. And every time I was out jogging, I was thinking, what are you doing, Kat? This was while I was engaged. What are you doing? We got to find a way out of this. What, and I thought, well, no, this is it, because I'm in I was 40 years old, 39, 40. And I thought, okay, this is your end game. We're just going to jog. We'll find a way to make this happen. It's okay. I can't believe I had that commentary, in constant commentary while I was jogging. I should have said, oh, Kat, there's your sign, ladybug. Come on now. You shouldn't be in this moment. And I went with it based on age, which is kind of sad. And I'm glad I'm saying this out loud. You're absolutely right. There was something that broke. And yes, there was a fear. It's funny. I am more afraid to go on a date than I am to perform in front of 2,000 people. Now that should say a whole lot. And I cannot believe I just said that live on camera.
No, but
But that's okay.
But so that's the thing. So here's what I think is
Darn you, Kristi. Why did you bring that out of me?
Listen, this is what I specialize in. Like, you and I are going to have a long conversation after this, sister.
Yeah, it's true.
But so here's what I'm hearing. And one, like we had mentioned before, everyone has been hurt. Everyone's been burned. So, like you said, you dodged a bullet. We've all dodged a bullet in relationships or marriages or engagements or whatever it may be. And how many people do you know are like, yeah, we got married, but it didn't work out. Thankfully, there were no children, because then you're sort of tied to that person for about 18 years or so.
Forever.
But going back to, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I mean, I love my position, my job, and where I'm at. And I only took that position because of the end of a relationship. I was like, you know what? You kind of, you're just in that rut. You're like, you know what? Screw it. I'll do whatever. I don't even care anymore. Just like, because you had all these eggs in this basket because you thought that was a good idea. But how many relationships or situations you look at like, oh, this could be a person, not necessarily for long term, but I wish I could date this person. And you look back and you look at them now, you're like, ooh, I missed that. There's a lot of things we dodge. But whenever I got the position I'm in now, I know going in for like the interview process or the audition process, I was overwhelmed with anxiety, but it was just like, I've been comfortable for so long. It's time to get uncomfortable. And so like you were saying, sometimes it's just a date, and it's weird because now at times like people don't say, hey, Pam, can I have your number? You know what they do? They see your Instagram. They might see your LinkedIn. And I'd be like, hey, looks like you do some things that I'm interested in doing. You work out. I like to work out. Maybe we can grab some coffee. Some people don't like that, but it's kind of the change at times where it's like, man, it's the way people kind of like, now given it's spun, because there are people who definitely try to like slide into someone's DM so they can try to like meet up with them and hide behind, relationships and things like that or whatever. And people do that, but that also gives a negative perspective on what could really be happening. Someone would be like, man, this woman's, she's beautiful. Like, hey, I saw your podcast. Would love to hang out and grab coffee sometime. And that might be something that's outside the norm. Because one thing that when Kat and you and I talked about one of my friends, and she's in her early 40s, and she was just like, why does someone hit me up in my direct message? Why don't they just talk to me or get my number? I'm like, how in the hell are they supposed to get your number or talk to you when you don't go out to do anything? Social media has given the dating apps ruin it mentally for some people, but it's like, at least this is a guy taking a chance saying, you know what? And you three could be very intimidating to some people who don't have everything together, or they're working on it. And they're like, wow, I've got 3 women here who are attractive and have great personalities. I'm not quite where they're at, but I want to get there. So when you say you're trying to empower women, you're also empowering men right now. You're just empowering people. And so it's like being open to that. So it's, when this is mainly for my friend, it's just like, hey, look, when someone takes that initiative and a guy says, hey, would love to, maybe go grab coffee or get a workout in. That's him saying, I like you. You're attractive. This is me asking you out in a sense, but this is the new age of kind of doing it. So it's like you said, it's just getting comfortable with being a little uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's rough. That's the hardest about dating, is actually getting uncomfortable and going out.
But Josh is saying that they don't just say, I would like to take you out on a date anymore. Me expecting that is so 1992. Is
Girl,
that right?
I'm saying, hey, it's like they're not going to come to the door with flowers anymore. They're not going to like pick you up. Everyone's going to have an Uber. Like no one's picking you up. Like
I'm upset about that.
But see, I disagree.
I don't want to know where I live.
I just have to jump in. Like, I think that's I have to disagree with you, Josh, 1,000%, because you teach people how you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you set that standard of you want him to open the door for you, you want to be, flowers a certain way.
Well, they should open the door.
That standard. They should, correct. But it's also, I believe in a fair exchange of energy. So if you're going to clam up and have this expectation, you're going to be disappointed. So radical responsibility is my thing for 2020. How am I showing up? How am I communicating my wants and needs versus just like, he should know that. How come he didn't do that? Well, maybe he was never taught that. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like you, like I said, you treat people treat you the way that you allow them to. Yeah. And, it doesn't have to be a comment of like, well, I wish you would have done that. You can always say something like, God, I just love fresh flowers. It would be, I love receiving fresh flowers. And how that person receives that is on them, because you've communicated something that you want. So if he's now like, well, she wants flowers and I didn't get it, so now I must not be this cool guy. That's on him. But at least you were open and honest enough to have that communication. So sorry, Josh.
I just meant my example on the first time he takes you out on a date. If he brings flowers and everything I think it's a little aggressive the first time, but yes, it should be the listening aspect. That was mainly for a friend.
Josh, back in the day, that's how it happened.
100% it happened like that back in the day.
It was beautiful.
But this is mainly for my friend who we will leave
unnamed.
There are certain old school ideas and concepts that just they're not recognized as much. And it's not that they're wrong or right, but it's just allow something to happen that's a little different than what you expect. It wasn't like someone saying, hey, you know what? Let's hook up. It wasn't that. They were like, some guy was like, hey, we should grab coffee sometime. And she was like, how are they not going to like come up to me and introduce themselves or this or that? And I was like, that's kind of what they're doing. It's just different than what she expected. And I understand where she's coming from, but it's just like, it's like I said, it wasn't over the top, like inappropriate. It was just like, we should grab coffee sometime. I wasn't even saying, let's go to a bar. It was just like, we should grab coffee sometime. And she's like, well, go straight into why? What's his agenda? Why couldn't he just come up and say something?
But that's on her, just like I said.
Exactly, which is why I'm kind of bringing it up and throwing it out there for her to understand and listen, and you guys to come back and give a feedback, because she needs this, which is.
To go along with something that Kristi, somebody said to me once, I'm seeing if I can say it correctly. We deserve what we tolerate. It was somebody said this, and this was years ago. If you're going to tolerate it, you deserve what you tolerate from people. And I thought, at first I thought, well, blank on you. And I thought, well, actually that makes sense. If I tolerate certain behavioral patterns, I guess I deserve what I'm going to get from that. And same thing with dating. Same thing with what we expect.
Yeah, I want to share. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Pam.
No, I was just going to say and you had mentioned it earlier about we teach people how to treat us. If someone doesn't know that it bothers you, and I think Josh had talked about too, just maybe your upbringing or what you saw or what your idea of marriage or relationships was. If you're not open and loving enough to yourself to be able to express those things to someone, sometimes they don't know it's something that's bothering you. So that's where somebody mentioned communication earlier, especially the older you get. Like, you have to be able to be better at communicating those things, because sometimes people just don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question. Well, one of my friends, she was saying that she's like, I'm with Kristi on the self-awareness and personal self-development mentality, and fully agree with everything about is a lesson and a gift, etc. I find it challenging to find a guy who also has done the work. She said she agrees with Kat. She's like, I'd rather be on stage naked than go on a date these days. But she did make it a goal to go on a date at least once a month, and has done so so far. But finds it difficult to find a self-aware guy. So a side note, she's like, I hate hearing the "you're intimidating" thing. Um,
Oh, I get that all
you
the
guys
time.
chime into that, but I would just want to encourage her, like, it's only March. You've got to, like, just it's not gonna happen overnight. But I like the fact that she's made this goal and she's gone through it. It's a New Year's resolutions and
Growing.
things, and your
Yeah.
vision boards, and it's
And
so what.
finding
Go ahead.
anybody, Josh, who does the work. That's very, pardon me for interrupting, but it's
No, go for it.
important to say this, because doing the work means you have to put the time in. You have to be aware of it. Like Tony Robbins, and I believe Dean is it Tony and Dean who are doing some work together now?
Dean Graziosi.
Dean Garcia, there we go. To whether it's getting a book or listening to Tony Robbins, or whether it's some meditation, men and women, doing that work, male or female, coming across people, put yourself in it. This is to speak to the person who just emailed you or text you, Josh. Put yourself in a situation, in places where people are doing that, who are doing the work, because then you're going to find that energy around you, because it's hard. And you see, and you see the both Pam and Kristi are shaking their heads, because it's challenging. Do I feel that more women do the work than men? I don't know if they do I think that women have an interesting perspective on life, and we multitask a lot of different elements, and not to say men don't. I think perhaps the women that I have come across in my life have been more interested in doing the work. That does not mean that men are more simple and they don't want to. There are a certain group of them who do and do not want to. And so, yes, just let her know. And if she's watching still right now,
Who's listening?
just and what does that mean? I don't know. Pam, Kristi, come in here with me on this one. What would that mean in terms of surrounding yourself with people who are doing the work?
Well, I think one thing that I looked for initially when I started doing the work, actually I was right around 40, so about 5 years ago, I had to accept responsibility that the things that had not worked out in my life, I played a huge part in it. Because whether it was the first month or the third month or the third year or the 8th year, whether it was a relationship or a job or whatever, at one point in time, I realized it was not working, and I stayed in it. Yeah. So whether that was the fear of leaving a job or the fear of leaving a relationship, I had to get comfortable being uncomfortable and saying, okay, you need to change. And then it was looking for people who I felt were at that level or who had made the change that I wanted to see in myself. So I knew that potential was there in me. And I said, okay, which of your friends are doing that? Which of your friends were maybe in this spot 4 or 5 years ago and they're here now? Which of your coworkers or mentors do you know maybe started at this point and now in 2 years they've jumped to, VP level? So it was a point of the things that I knew I wanted in my life, kind of mirroring myself and matching myself up with people in my own community that were doing those things. And again, just getting uncomfortable with, it takes a lot of work. Like, it takes a lot of self-awareness of really, for me, it was the ownership of it. It's nobody else's fault. Don't be pissed at, or excuse me, upset at anybody else.
Okay, you can say pissed.
Even looking at the relationships, don't be mad at someone because they didn't give you what you wanted when you knew 5 months in they weren't the one and you decided to stay for 2 years. That's on you, girl. So
Mhm.
once I really began to own those things and decided to be the person I wanted to admire and to surround myself with those people and to put in the work, it is a lot of sometimes tears, a lot of times it's not comfortable. You have to play those thoughts back in your head. You have to come to peace with other people and more so with yourself, which is what I had to do, and just love me where I was and be okay with growing. But it was definitely looking at the people that had made changes in their lives and deciding, okay, let me reach out to them and let me mirror what they've done. And honestly, for the majority of them, it was them being truthful with themselves and being willing to put in more work than the person next to them.
Agreed. Kristi, how about you? Thoughts on people who are doing the work? You know what? I say that because it's so easy. It's so easy, ladies, to just sit on your couch, have a glass of wine and watch Netflix and go, okay, I'm really got to shake this. I've got to, or I could, get on my phone and I can dial up, all different types of meditation people. I can dial up Tony Robbins. But to the people who are watching right now, dialing up on this piece of machinery that is supposed to have connected us is not the thing to do. And so I'm going with you on that, Pam. You chose to call people or be around people who you wanted to mirror, or you wanted to be in there in that place. Kristi, are there some, it's so important. I'm saying this because I can't tell you how many people will dial up something to make them feel better or make them feel like they're connected, but you're connecting to an emotion through this thing. I can knock on it. It's not a human being. And and you guys may disagree with me, but this has separated me more than it has connected me. And that's a shocker for me because I love to be around people. So Kristi, how about some of the people who have made you do
I
the
would
work?
say, some of the community that I belong to with the nutrition company I partner with has changed my dynamic completely. I was always a team athlete, so I had teammates around me. I played, a Division I sport, and it was a very toxic surrounding. Like everybody was cutthroat, and it wasn't conducive to filling my soul with what I needed for community and collaboration and what I thrive in. And I challenge everybody out there watching and listening, especially you ladies. Yes, this can be a gift, and it can also be the worst thing in the world, right? As far as, back to Josh's friend who's been chiming in, and thank you for watching. We're so grateful that you're paying attention to everything we're saying and hopefully learning a few things. And I hope I get to connect with you one-on-one. I would love to meet you.
Sure. You'd like her.
I feel like if you are seeking those types of relationships, you're gonna have to get uncomfortable and go to an event, go to a personal development event, there's meetup.com. There's plenty of places that you can connect with other human beings that are doing the things you're doing. But I feel like we have gotten to such a microwave journey. We want it right now when we say we want it, and we want it to happen, and we want to lose the weight overnight. We want to be the Victoria's Secret model, but nobody wants to do the damn work.
Preach.
Nobody wants to do the work because we see, and this is some of the stuff that I coach on. We naturally, we all know what homeostasis is. It's that nice even balance, right? So I feel like the majority of human beings, well, maybe that's a little exaggerated, in the US, in Western culture, we either are letting other people impose their values on us and trying to live up to somebody telling us what we should be, or we're looking up in fantasy land, seeing all the bright and shiny, and oh my God, my life would be so much happier if I just did this, instead of connecting to what really lights you up and then creating the action steps and putting yourself in those situations that fill you up. And it's not the same for everybody. Everybody's hierarchy of what lights them up, their values or personal priorities are different. It doesn't make them good, bad, wrong, or right. None of that. It's what lights you up. And I don't know. I feel like it's so much easier to just slip back into the easy boy and chill versus what happened. I mean, I think we just get so conditioned, and such learned behavior sometimes is imposed on us that if we're not doing it like everybody else, then it's wrong, or we're excluded and we're isolated, or we isolate ourselves because we don't have the ass like Kim Kardashian, and we don't have the big car like this, or we don't have the right, hair, or why is that guy with that, like Josh mentioned, that guy with that girl, why wouldn't he pick me? Well, take a hot second and look at what you're putting out there and the place that you're coming from. And, for your friend that's excited about self and personal development, I'm one of those junkies too. I love it. It just, because I learn something new about myself all the time, which is so cool. Because remember when you're a little kid, how excited you were? And you would just, you could run across the playground with a booger hanging out of your nose or food in your teeth and run up to somebody and be like, you want to be my friend? And nobody cared. And now all of a sudden it's like, I have gray hair and a stretch mark. And like all the things. How many people care more about their own stuff than what the hell is going on with you? Just don't get, just to be clear.
That's the truth.
And it's so true. So true. So that's my jam. Go to a personal development event if you need help with some events that I absolutely fell in love with, and some of the speakers that have lit up my life. I can give you a ton of them.
Oh, awesome.
Well, I also want to encourage everybody. I think it'd be a good idea for, I don't mind. I get, and I don't want to just speak on behalf of y'all, but if anyone has any questions, because I know that you are going to inspire people from this podcast, or that either watching it live or on iTunes. If there's any questions, or if you want to dive in a little bit deeper, DM us, talk to us, ask us questions. I would love to be able to get, I think that's one of the reasons Kat and I cross paths. We were talking about things happen for a reason. Kat and I meeting was the most random thing, because the way we met, we don't even our mutual one. We have no issues with it all. Great individual. We don't interact anymore. And it was just, and I met that person through a friend of a friend of a friend. And then they're like, hey, I've got this person that, needs a trainer, and I was like, okay. And it just, of all the time with our schedules, we had this slot open.
Yeah.
And that's a slot that worked. And year and a half later, we're here and we're doing this. And it's certain things happen for a reason. So I was listening to one of the podcasts I like to listen to, and I think I've mentioned this before. It's look at your podcast the first time, the first episode, and look at it the 100th episode. They're totally different.
Oh yeah.
It never starts. It never finishes how you thought it was going to start. So we were like, oh, let's talk fitness stuff.
I know. And we have one or two that are fitness.
We're 6 shows in. The first one was bodybuilding, and then chiropractor work, which is great. But then it's which is good because people have questions about that. But it's but then people are curious about real life stuff. And I love Tony Robbins, and they can go to Tony Robbins. But I feel like some people that look at Tony Robbins he's up here, when really he's here with you. He's still a person.
Yeah.
He's just a dude.
The story.
He's just, so get people who can relate. And so getting find your community. Well, we can make a community. There's niches in Nashville that we're missing. And all I'm hearing are things that we are thinking of that are good ideas, that there's no reason we can't put that together. Like you said, whether it's a brunch, whether it's Kristi, next time you're in town, let us know. And
we'll fly you in.
Something, we'll fly you in. We'll have our people call your people.
Right.
Make sure
we'll have Josh's people call you.
Well, Nashville is on my radar for my one of my next Girl Gang Evolution events. So
that would be great. It's just seeing so many people who, and I can tell you, I know it's not just women who are dealing with this. The dating thing is a thing for a lot of people. I think it's a bigger issue is the wrong word. It's a bigger topic of question for women in their 40s than it's for men in their 40s. But there are men who are I'm trying to find somebody too. And so it's they don't want to do the dating, they don't want to do the bar thing, but maybe they think, all I've ever known is well, maybe go to a bar to pick somebody up. No one's going to a bar to find their next significant other, whether it's marriage or just a partner to spend time with. So doing events like that in town. There's plenty of people here, and
Super important.
there's plenty of people that we all know that we can just reach out to. And even though Pam lives 17,000 miles away, it's only a 15-minute drive. It's still,
That's
but we can work with I think that would be a good thing to do, is to the people who we're messaging now are like, oh, I like this. This is good. They need that, whether it's, outlets like Predators games. Not everyone likes hockey. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's an outing. It's an event.
It's
And
fun.
and it's fun. And there is a company, there is a separate, they try to get, it's like meet people. Everyone gets out and does their own thing, and that's fine. And that's good. But I feel like we are a little closer to people. So instead of having just one NashvilleMeetPeople.com, it would be like, Pam, me and Kat and Kristi are going out. Let's grab so-and-so and so-and-so. Let's all hang out. And that group goes from 5. Oh, bring a friend. And then all of a sudden you go from 5 people to, like we did Sunday, 20 people. Everyone had a blast because everyone.
And we could go to our box at Music City Fitness box at the Predators game.
Exactly. We have the little suite upstairs. We can.
I'm in.
All of a sudden,
it's a cardboard box,
box?
And it's really just kittens that we borrowed from the shelter that we take back after. But it's still the same.
That's the same thing. Really cool. We just think.
But no, but it's one of those things where if Kristi's like, hey, I've got friends I want you to meet. Any friend that's friends with Kristi, we would all get along with. Any friends that's friends with Pam, because you're at that point where it's like, hey, let's bring in, let's just say the cool people, however you want to put it. But that group of cool people showed up Sunday.
Yeah.
Everyone had a blast.
That was
and
fun.
I randomly started training Pam because of a person. And she DM'd me. She's like, I need a trainer. And she only thought I did group fitness stuff. So I actually tried to set her up with a different trainer that I love. And the other trainer, she's fantastic. Like, they're great.
Yes.
And Pam's like, well,
Pam's like, nope, it's either you or nobody. Nope.
and I was like, well, you get yourself into a lot of sarcasm and yelling, and she loves it. And we've been best friends.
Yes, that is the truth.
Sometimes.
But it's funny because it's like the way that Kristi and I met, walks into the gym, hangs out, she's running, she's doing great in class. And I'm like, you can tell the athleticism. We have a lot of people that come in different types of athleticism in class. Everyone gives 100% effort, but there's certain people who D1 athlete, you can just kind of see those people. Like when Pam came in, when watching Kat work out, I'm like, I have to teach you form and technique. You know what you're doing. Pam's coming in, she's looking trim and fit and lean. I'm like, she knows what she's doing. And you see Kristi, and it's like, okay. She's like, oh, I do a berries in, I think it was San Diego or somewhere else. And we started talking, and we knew mutual friends and people. And then she's in town, and we introduce people, and then we all go out and we play volleyball with a group. And it's like, you're pretty cool. I got friends that I think would be cool also. So we all get along. And then fast forward to, I probably haven't talked to you in 6 months. I mean, outside of like, oh, I like that picture of your bulldog, like she's got a bulldog too. So we'll comment on the dogs.
Oh,
but
did you too? I thought you were talking about his.
No. She's got a,
No.
that's one of the other reasons we bonded as friends. Cause if you're a bulldog person, you're just an elite individual. So
Hey, Pekingese dog person.
And Pekingese too. But it's funny because then now everyone came together, and it was like everyone is like randomly selected. Everything happened for a reason. You've got 3 incredible women who can now, and there's also 3 more incredible women who also know 3 more incredible women who then also know people and guys. And I don't want to keep it just women, but like just people just need that environment. So it's like there's no reason, like like Tony Robbins started somewhere, Why can't Pam Watkins start right here? And she's like, I'm Pam Watkins. Like, this is what I want. Like, I can bring people in. I'm a positive energy and positive source.
There seems to be, I know you're going to close it in a second, but there are 2 words, or a couple more than 2 words, but there are 2. Uncomfortable. I heard that from Kristi. I heard that from Pam. I also heard that from you, Josh. But ladies, uncomfortable and energy output. So I'm only throwing those out at the end. So everybody who is listening, the 2 things that I heard come up again and again is the amount of energy after 40. And it's really not just after 40, it's at any age. Yes, it's a little different in our 20s, just because I think in our teens and our 20s, we're in just a different just a different place. We'll just call it that. We're more investigatory
Mhm.
in our energy output, but getting out of our comfort zone. So
Yeah.
thank you both for saying that, because you both said it again and again and again, because that is exactly what it takes when you get to a certain place. Let's not give it an age, because there are some places in this world where they don't even look at their age. They don't say their age does anything other than count a year for, they don't even know. Some people would say, I don't know how old I am.
Yeah.
But at this place in our lives, in America, there's a certain, by this age, you should have this, by this age, you should have this, and by blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
But getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful that both of you said that, because I think that there are a lot of people listening right now who just needed to hear that. And and even when you're out of your comfort zone, know that you're not alone. We're all
Yeah.
trying to do it. We're all out there going, okay, I'm going to go to this meeting tonight. I'm going to try to put myself together. I'm going to do my hair. No, I don't want to go. I'm not going to go. No, I got to go. I've got to go, because now, ladies who are watching, you have Pam, you have Kristi, who said, listen, jump out. Just if you want to get to it, you got to go through it. And so go through
Can I
that.
share a quick story that I would love
Absolutely.
to leave everybody with? So my new business coach, I absolutely am obsessed with her, her tenacity, her authenticity. And she shared a story with me that gut punched me. And it was during an Instagram live, because I'm on Instagram live and I'll interview like people that I just want the world to learn about. So be ready, girls, because you're going to get a DM and you're going to be live with me, whether you like it or not. So she shared a story with me. She was a school teacher, absolutely miserable, living that hamster wheel lifestyle. And she was listening to a podcast driving to school to work. She was a PE teacher at the time. And the podcast, it was a gentleman running it. And then a lady called in, and she had an Etsy store. Everybody knows what Etsy is. It's just like your online store that you create. And she had this jewelry line. And she was just hemming and hawing about, my God, I don't know if I should do it. And so the host of the podcast said, so let me get this right. What would happen if you just took 1 year of your life and went all in, and did Etsy and did your thing? What would happen? Like, what would that look like? And she described like, oh my God, my business would take off. Like she was future casting. And he's like, what's the worst case scenario if in that 1 year it just didn't work out? And she's like, well, I guess I would just go back to what I was doing before, or just go back to the job that I had before. And he's like, well, how does it feel to wake up every single day in your worst case scenario?
Yeah.
Boom.
So I'm challenging all of you. If you're waking up and it's here and it's your worst case scenario, get out of that comfort zone.
That's right.
And that shocked me to the point now where I have declared that I will be leaving my corporate job before the end of my lease. And I don't care, because what's the worst that'll happen? I can go find another sales job. I can get behind the bar. Like I'm 47. What in the heck am I waiting for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I refuse to live that life anymore. I absolutely refuse.
Well, and like you said, people.
Thank you for
need to
sharing
hear
that, by the way.
Yeah. That's.
So go on the date, Kat.
No,
Yeah.
fine, I'll do it.
Got her.
That's why I said that, because
Now I'm really scared. All the rest of y'all should get out of your comfort zone. I'm just going to stay in mine. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing.
So we got the message from our friend. They are happily open to hosting a together meet and greet together at the restaurant. So when Kristi come in town, we can have a sort of another meet and greet at the restaurant, hang out, let everybody get meet, talk. We all know we'll get the same group from Sunday, and then more. We'll plan it ahead of time, which just means Kristi's got to put it on her schedule.
Yeah, and Kristi, we can do the meet and greet before you do do you usually do your get-togethers, seminars at?
So if you go to girlgangevolution.com or at girlgangevolution, you'll kind of see the women that it's for the women. Unless, Josh, you feel like putting on a skirt and a wig and shaving your face, you can come.
You know what?
It's for the ladies.
You'll do it.
Don't send me with a good time. The skirts hanging up in the
So
closet.
usually those events, my next one is going to be in Minneapolis on May 30th. They're usually a 5-hour event. So I love doing that. And Nashville was on my list because I know how important community is there, especially after what's just recently happened to everybody there. So it would be an absolute honor to schedule something there as a smaller pop-up. Usually I plan my bigger events 6 months out, just because it's the coordination and getting everything and the stuff that goes with it and the venue and, you know, that kind of thing. But I would be more than happy to come in and do like a mini thing, just, you know, maybe share my story and kind of share what I get to do and why I love helping
have
people.
dinner at this restaurant and everyone just gets to meet and hang out. And because one of the other things what I would like to do, this is the third message I've got about this, is especially with all three of you being in the fitness industry and being a trainer and not being able to speak personally about the female body and how it reacts, but just being around it and knowing the scientific kind of aspect of it. We were asked to maybe next time talk about the hormones, the workout routines, the sudden puffiness in the face and the stomach of women over 40, just the change, which we sort of touched base with Addison before, but that was because she's getting the hormone injection. She's becoming a woman and going through that transgender process. But I think I'd love to be able to do another follow-up with us and get
because
that perspective.
There's a very strong, for whomever that was who is probably listening, pardon me for jumping in, Josh, but there is when it comes to estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and a lot of your mood altering hormones, there is a huge shift that happens when you go through perimenopause. And menopause really, if we think about it, is a day. That is when your period, that I think it's a full year after you have stopped your period, that is when the actual date is. Beforehand is perimenopause. And so all of the elements that happen 40 and beyond, or for some people 45 and beyond, depending on when you go through that process, it's a huge challenge, because yes, it does happen that you do get a little bit of a pooch in the belly. That does happen. That is hormonally based. It's not because all of a sudden you started eating ho-hos and eating Twinkies and you got a big belly. That's not what happens. Estrogen, progesterone slows down. It changes. It's supposed to happen. The human body goes through it. And just in case you're wondering, men go through andropause. Their testosterone starts to lower. Their sex drive starts to lower. They
hear
don't
about that all the time. Everyone's like the test booster stuff and all these kind of things, and everyone goes through it.
Yes, it's human.
Yeah, it's a normal thing. But I think it would be great to get you three to talk, because all three of you have that same fitness background, and it's not. I mean, obviously you're a fitness professional, but it's like you all have different ages, different aspects, everyone goes through different times. It's like going through puberty. You hit it at different ages when you're growing up. So it's, you develop differently. So it's like when you get older,
all three of us know the experience of what it is to push our human meat suit, our human machine, to its max.
I love that. She
Kristi
said
knows that. Pam knows that. Well, the truth is that means that you just push it way to the edge. You know what it feels like to get that out of it, every ounce of oomph. And when you hit a certain age, yes, you can change it too, by the way. Let that be the big message that we all send. It doesn't mean that you get puffy forever, the belly forever.
But it takes way more work. And I can tell the difference between being 40 and training. And if I worked out as hard as I did still now, I would be in competition shape, as opposed to me just trying to stay lean enough to fit into my clothes. Like, it definitely changes, and some things you just have to accept. I'm going to work as hard as I can. And some of this is just because I'm now closer to 50 than I was, I'm 40 or 35. But yeah, it definitely is different, no matter, at least for me at 45. And some of it I've just had to accept. Like, you go in as, Kristi had mentioned, I'm comfortable being uncomfortable, and I realize I will probably have to continue to adjust and change things for the rest of my life. to try to battle it. Like it literally is like a battle now. Whereas before, yes, I could work hard, follow the diet, stick to leans, drink a gallon and a half of water. And these were the results that I was going to get. And that's part of why I did stop competing, was because after maybe a year and a half of being super lean and doing awesome in shows, I just had a show where I was top 5, but barely. And it wasn't me. It was that my body was saying, I've had enough. I'm getting older, and it's gonna like even switching things, you didn't know what body was gonna show up. And that was, part of it was of course the training, and my body probably needing a break. But some of that too was just, you're getting older, kid, and it's part of life.
So I would love to connect you, Kat, and I'm going to plug one of my Girl Gang speakers. She's my OG, and I absolutely love her. And she would jump on this podcast in a heartbeat. Her name is Dr. Beth Westie, spelled just like the dog breed, Westie. So her podcast is called The Female Health Solution. She's a best-selling author of 2 books, The Female Fat Solution and The Female Menopause Solution. So she's a chiropractor by trade. She's also a women's health and nutrition expert. And so what she does is she creates nutrition plans for women at every stage of life according to their hormonal cycle. So she can work with women that are prenatal, during pregnancy, post-pregnancy, women with Hashimoto's, other thyroid issues, lupus, other immunosuppressive diseases. And she is amazing. I mean, I can't tell you enough about her. So if you want me to connect you to her and get her on this podcast, I'm telling you, the things that she has taught me about how I eat and during my estrogen phase and my progesterone phase, and why you feel certain ways, and just a small help for the ladies that are in perimenopause or menopause and you're just struggling with your workouts. You need to consume twice as much protein than you're currently consuming now to get the same results. And if you do some protein pacing throughout the day and eat your cooling and warming foods, and she'll go into all of that. But I'm telling you, she would light this thing up. And the women that are watching, go follow her. She has tons of free information on her YouTube channel. I can't say enough about her, but her name is Dr. Beth Westie. She's going to be speaking at my next event, but I guarantee if you wanted her to fly to Nashville and talk to a group of women, game changer. Game changer.
That would be fantastic. I will say, having spent 17 years in Miami, during that time, there were a lot of anti-aging doctors and people who were ahead of the game. Not to say anything negative about Nashville, but when it comes to dealing with hormones and diets and how the body changes and even thyroid issues, I'm not saying that there are not a lot of doctors here, but it's a little bit different than some of the other places I've lived. And so this would be fantastic, because I have a huge group of women in corporate America where I do a lot of my work, who are suffering. And they really,
let's set it up. I'm happy to have her, I'll connect you through a chat thread on Instagram.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Good.
I know we talked so long. How long did we talk tonight? This is great. What did we do, Josh? Is it an all-time?
No, 2 hours.
Hey, I just checked my phone outside the other message got from one of my clients. She was like, this podcast is fire. She loves it. Like it's, sometimes like people have health questions, and it's great that, we talked about the things we talked about before in previous podcasts, but hitting real life things that are close to home. Like I said, it's Tony Robbins is up here, but he started here, and people just, like, you can say, man, I listen to Tony Robbins, and people are like, yeah, I could, I can go and Google and listen to something on YouTube or whatever. But like, if you're local, everyone local has the same issues that someone non-local has. So the fact that we can grab Kristi from out of town, Pam from 17,000 miles away, 15-minute drive, traffic 30. It's good. It's great. But it's like,
you're never gonna live that down, Pam.
He's like, she'll send me the eye roll. Traffic. I'll be there soon. Like,
so what's my excuse?
Oh, I got to take the dog home real quick.
I
have to go let Precious out. I have to put Precious away. Sometimes she'll bring Precious to the gym, and it's great. And I love Precious. It's funny because Precious is blind, and she's the sweetest thing in the world. She'll go up to a machine as if it's a person. Like, why aren't you petting me?
This
And
is not a
like-
joke. I have the
and-
biggest, fluffiest Pekingese who is blind, and she's the sweetest thing in the world. But yes, she will go right up to a lat
go to
pull
the
machine and
like,
look at it
the
like,
lap will be like, "What's up? Those arms are up here. You gonna touch me or pet me or no? Like I'm right here." But no,
it's actually, you guys got to see it one day. We'll have to video it one day.
we'll go. We'll put it out there.
Man, I'm so grateful for you guys coming on, Pam and Kristi. Thank you.
Yeah, Kristi, I
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Thank you
Chrissy,
guys
last
for the
minute, like
opportunity.
I've mentioned this to Pam a few times and Kat too, but Chrissy, I was like random, like, so what are you doing on Tuesday? I know you're busy in New York, but you want to jump on a random podcast with people you don't know and talk about stuff that you have no idea what we're talking about? Yep,
My
I'm
jam,
in.
I love it.
Sweet.
I literally had a fear moment with this, and I sat there and I'm like, oh shit, what are we gonna talk about? Oh my God, what are they gonna ask me?
You know what?
But then I was like,
I'm gonna get
but then I
comfortable
was
with being
like-
uncomfortable.
I don't really care what they ask me. I'm gonna tell them the truth. I don't care. Just don't
That's
care.
Same-
it's
same
just raw.
feeling.
It's just raw and honest, and that's like looking at my phone and the messages. That's just what people are appreciating, and it's great. And I will tell you, it's not just women that are appreciating the podcast. Like people go through things and changes, and they've all been there. And I think this kind of hit home. And so when Kristi comes in town, and we'll get together with our friend, and we'll go to the restaurant. We'll host a little brunch thing, and we'll do another hangout session, and it'll be great.
You should do that
and
and
I'll
then
make-
scale it with a seminar.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I'll have Beth fly down. I'll make sure she comes down she lives in Minnesota. It's really
Nice.
cold up there.
That's warm down here. She can come down here. There's no snow. We're good for right now.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Yeah, check
All
her
right, well, I
out. I'm
guess
telling
we'll-
you, Kat, you're gonna be like obsessed.
I'm going to be very excited. I wrote it down. That's why I'm like, now let me make sure you're like Westy, like the dog. I got this.
Right.
She's got a social media stalker out coming up.
Exactly.
Well, thank you guys again for coming in. We'll go ahead and wrap it up, but I definitely 100% want to get you three back on it. And I have a few other people I'd love to jump in also just to get another perspective. But I mean, Kat, Pam, y'all met some of the people that I want to get on here in a few weeks. But
It's gonna be fun.
it'll be amazing and it'll be fun. But I want to thank you again for taking time out. I know it's a weekday, it's a school night, and it's it's 10:30 back.
Way past his grandma's bedtime.
I know, right? About to take my Metamucil and just crawl into bed, so I get it. It's no big
Listen,
deal.
mister, I take Metamucil every day. I don't want to hear that.
I take it once in the morning, once at night, sometimes in the afternoon when I'm bored. It's fine. Nothing's wrong. But anyway, we talked about meat suits and we talked about Metamucil. That's a good night, right?
Can't be a bad night.
That's
We're
right.
in it to win it.
Well, thank you guys again for tuning in. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe. If you're on iTunes, 5 stars, 4 stars, this means you had a hand cramp. Go ahead and hit 5 stars. Give us a good review. Even if you don't like us, just lie and say it was fun. We will see you next week, and we will definitely get these women back on here in a couple weeks for sure. Thank y'all so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Ladies, have a good evening. You were the best. Thank you.
You betcha.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on Music City Fitness. We had a